Hey there, my friend. Welcome to the Leadership Table with Chad Reyes. I'm so excited today to talk about this because I know you've never had to deal with difficult conversations, right? Yeah, okay, sure. Today, we're going to have a conversation around turning tough conversations into growth opportunities. Now, why do I say that? I say that because the greatest leaders are able and comfortable with having those difficult conversations. You see, most people struggle through these conversations. But I want to challenge you today that if we look at difficult conversations as growth opportunities, then we're going to be more comfortable with leaning into difficult conversations. You see, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is what separates good leaders from great leaders. You heard that? Being comfortable with being uncomfortable is what separates good leaders from great leaders. So today I'm going to give you something that I learned from John Maxwell. And I think it's a really powerful 10 steps to addressing issues. And I'm going to go through each one of them and I'm going to kind of talk about it. And what's really important here is this. There's a quote by Winston Churchill. He says this. He says that courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. Difficult conversations requires both the ability to communicate and the ability to actively listen. So I'm going to give you 10 things today. I'm going to kind of teach a little bit on each one. I think it's really powerful. The first one is this. When a tough conversation needs to happen, we need to address the issue immediately and personally. Meaning, we don't have to go public with it. Everyone doesn't know that it's a problem. No one has to be embarrassed in front of everyone. But we need to address it immediately. Now, why immediately? Immediately because the quicker we address it, the better we can get to a resolution. See, the resolution requires that we address things immediately. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you today about how important it is for us to address issues immediately. It's so important because what it does is it allows integrity to that relationship when we address it instead of allowing it to go on and on. And this is the great thing. When we address it, we don't have control over how someone else is, but our job is to address it. You know, I've had situations in my lifetime where I've went to address an issue and I had people say, I don't care to, or there's not a problem. And that's okay. We don't have control over how someone addresses it and receives it on the other end, but we do have control over whether we're addressing the issue immediately and personally. Let me give you the second. The second is this, is that we need to confront with the right condition of the heart. Why is that so important? Because if we really want to address the issue and turn a tough conversation into a growth opportunity, our heart has to be right. We have to be approaching them not to prove that we're right, but to want to be understood and to understand them. I don't know about you, but I know sometimes I think that the reason why someone did something was for a totally different reason when I actually speak to them. My wife and I, we were at this coaching program many, many years ago. It was probably over 15 years ago. And I want to share this story. It's not a cute story, but it's an impactful one. We were at this event. It was a weekend event, and there was a young man that had come up, and he was sharing. They were talking about forgiveness. This was the topic that was talked about, part of the topics during that weekend. And a guy came up and got in front of the room, and he shared a story. And I want to share this story with you because sometimes we misperceive the reality of what's in front of us. So he was sharing that him and his family, his sister and him and his dad were in business, and the dad owned the company, and the son was so stressed out over the company, and he would always say, Dad, this business is going to be the death of me. This business is going to be the death of me. So when it came to the point where his dad was looking at who was going to take over the business, his dad gave the business to his daughter. And his son had so much resentment around that. And he didn't talk to the dad for 20 years. Now, this guy is sharing this in front of the room with people that he didn't necessarily know. And he's saying how he needed to forgive, because when he finally got to a point where he could hear what his dad wanted to say, and he asked his dad, Dad, why'd you give the business to my sister? Dad, why did you give that business? Do you know how much it hurt me? He said, Son, I gave that business to your sister because I remember nights where you would be sitting with me and you would be saying to me, Dad, this business will be the death of me. This business is going to put me in my grave. He said, and I love you so much that I would never want that business to do that to you. This is a true story, by the way. And dad and son started crying. That is the power of asking questions, because that son never knew why dad did what he did. All he did was shut down. He didn't address it immediately. It was 20 years later. He finally, after 20 years and working through all these negative emotions, he confronted his dad, but this time with the right condition of the heart. And he shared, it was so amazing to see. He shared in front of the room that because he was able to understand why his dad did what he did, he was able to embrace his dad, and they reconciled their relationship. We want to talk about addressing issues. That was where you turn tough conversations into growth opportunities. You see, people are listening to what we say. That son was sharing that this business was going to kill him. Now, maybe he didn't mean it figuratively, but he was saying it with so much passion that the dad said, I would never want to give him this business because I don't want the business to be the death of him. We got to be careful of what we say, because when we say things, people perceive them a different way. Let me give you the third one. So the first is we address the issue immediately and personally. The second, we confront with the right condition of the heart. Let me give you the third one now. The third is we start on a positive note. You see, if we go in and we say, you did this and you did that, and all of a sudden what we've done is we've put people into a very, very defensive approach where now they got to protect themselves. But if we start on a positive note, it changes how we can interact with someone. Hey, Dad, or hey, so-and-so, can you help me understand, why you said this? Because I know that you care about me, and I just not understanding why. Just help me understand. I'll give you a case in point. I had a nephew of ours. It was so amazing because he approached my wife and I on something, and he said, I know that you would never mean to leave me out. And he addressed it. He didn't even know this, and he addressed it immediately within a period of time. I'll tell you what it was. Danielle and I decided to go on trips, take trips with our nieces and nephews. We have 20 of them, and bring them when I'm speaking at conferences, and just putting them in the room so they can get proximity. And we went on the first trip, so we only could bring 2 of our nieces and nephews. So we invited the ones that we knew the topic would mean most to them, because we were talking on leadership and AI. And one of my nephews reached out to Danielle and said, I know that you would never want me. I know that you would never do it intentionally. Can you help me understand why I wasn't invited? And honestly, it made me love him more. I was so encouraged by the maturity that he had to even ask that. Honestly, being a 17-year-old young man, the maturity to do that was amazing. But what did he do? He addressed it immediately. Within a day or two, he reached out to us. He confronted it with the right condition of heart. He said, I know that you would never mean to exclude me because you've never done that before. And then he started on a positive note and he said, Aunt Didi, I know you love me. Think about that. He modeled, my nephew modeled, 17 years old, modeled what I'm sharing with you as a leader. It's so powerful. The right condition of the heart. He came to us and he said, just help me understand. And we explained to him that we're going to go on many other trips and you're always welcome to come, but we can't bring 17 of our nieces and nephews with us. So we picked the ones that this one would work well for. And we're going to invite you to the next one that would work good for you. And he's like, oh, okay. Thank you so much. I love you guys. That's a turning a tough conversation. And this is a young man who took a tough conversation into a growth opportunity. Let me give you number 4. We outline the problem. We explain, this is the reason why it hurt me. This is the reason why I'm struggling. This is how I'm struggling through this. You know, one of the things of a very effective leader is I talk about the 5 things an emotionally healthy leader does, right? The 5 things are this. They can perceive themselves well. They can express themselves well. They build good relationships. They manage stress and they make good decisions. That's the signs of healthy emotional leaders. When we are able to outline the problem and express ourselves well, we now have given the other person the ability to share why and how and what was the purpose and why they did what they did. So step 5 is we want to encourage the other person to respond. Now, remember before I said we want to be able to communicate, but we also want to be able to have active listening. That's the power of active listening. If we can encourage people in number 5 to just give us a response, I want to understand your heart, why you did what you did. Most times, very few people really, really, truly want to hurt someone. Maybe I'm ignorant, maybe I am misled, but I don't think most people want to hurt people. I think most people don't have the skill set to communicate what they're actually feeling. And because of that, it hurts people. That makes sense? I remember many years ago, I had a gentleman, Jason, he shared with me, he said, Chad, remember this, that the person with the highest level of awareness is responsible for the relationship. So my friend, if you're more aware of these conversation points, now I just tricked you because what I just did is I brought you into a conversation that now you have more level of awareness. So you're responsible for every relationship moving forward. Welcome to the leadership table. This is where mature leaders have mature conversations. That's what I'm doing with you right now. Your level of awareness to these 10 points now requires you to model it with others. Let me give you number 6. You show that you understand the other person's perspective. You say, I hear you. I'm understanding you. I get it. That makes sense. Tell me a little bit more about that. You see, all of this is designed to turn difficult conversations into growth opportunities. The thing that I learned, my wife and I own multiple companies, and one of our companies is a generational planning firm. We help very wealthy families. They start at 30 million, they go to billions of dollars of net worth. And what we do is we help them. And the 2 biggest struggles that these families deal with is breakdown of communication and trust within the family unit and failure to prepare the next generation. Breakdown of communication and trust. Let me explain something to you. Trust doesn't get broken down first. Communication gets broken down first. When you break communication for a long period of time, now you say, I don't trust that person. It's the reason why we always have to constantly be over communicating. We have to figure out ways to encourage responses. That's number 5. Number 6, we want to show that we understand the other person's perspective, because what that does is it increases communication. When we increase communication, what happens? We increase trust. Powerful, right? Let's jump to number 7. We want to explain why that action is damaging. My nephew did that so powerfully. He even said in the text that he had sent, he said, Aunt Didi, that's my wife Danielle. Aunt Didi, I felt like I was left out, but I know that wasn't your heart. He's explaining why the action is damaging. That's a 17-year-old. Powerful. We need to express to people why sometimes we're hurt without trying to hurt them. Letting them know this is what I'm struggling through. This is how you turn tough conversations into growth opportunities. Now, this is the powerful part. We don't have control over how someone else handles it. We do have control over how we approach it. Don't miss what I just said. You could approach someone with the right condition of the heart, outlining the problem, encouraging a response, but we don't have control over how they take it. All we have control over as leaders is how we deliver it and making sure that our intentions and our condition of our heart was in the right spot. Let me give you number 8. You want to indicate what your desired outcome is. You want to indicate, hey, I'm hoping that we can have reconciliation. I'm hoping that tomorrow we don't have to deal with these emotions anymore around it. Hey, when we go into the office, we're no longer going to be competing. We're going to be completing. It's good stuff, no? Powerful conversations. This is the leadership table is where these are conversations that change everything that goes on in our lives. And how I know you'll have to use this is because if you got air in your lungs, you're going to have difficult conversations at some point in your life. Let me give you number 9. We want to reiterate the positive strengths of that person. Let them know that, hey, I know that you're very good at this. I recognize that you care for people. Reiterate the positive strengths. And then this is the last one, biggest struggle. It's probably one of the biggest struggles for people in general is because we hold on to resentment. Almost like by us holding on to that poison pill, it's going to kill the other person. But it doesn't. The truth of it is that when we don't put that issue in the past, we affect our future. Our future is predicated on putting the issue in the past. Because if we don't close that door, that will lean over into our future. I want to give you an example. Many years ago, I was working with a sales coach, and that sales coach, they gave an example of a submarine and how the sales process is very much like a submarine. When one of the chambers of a submarine closes, water can't go in or out. And the reason is that it protects the submarine for potentially sinking. So if water gets into the submarine, that submarine chamber will close so it cannot go and continue to go to the rest of the boat, the rest of the submarine. It's the same way with us. We have to look at it and say, that chamber, that issue, it can't come into the future because I've just closed it off because I put it in the past. And my friend, I want to just share this last part because I think it's such a powerful part before we wrap up. Forgiveness is never for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. As a leader, you're going to be hurt. I have been hurt. I'm sure you have been hurt. And I'm sure we will be hurt in the future. But forgiveness is for you, not for them. See, when you forgive, you give them the opportunity to receive your forgiveness. But forgiveness doesn't need two-way. Forgiveness needs one-way. Forgiveness is the heart of the person who's giving the forgiveness, not for the other person on the other end who's receiving that forgiveness. When they receive it, that's called reconciliation. I want to encourage you that when you put the issue in the past and you truly forgive, you've been now released to accomplish the potential that you have inside of you. You've been released that no longer do you have that cement block that's tied to your ankle that's pulling you down. You've been released to walk into your destiny. You've been released to walk into your calling. You've been released to accomplish the visions and dreams that you have in your heart. If you're dealing with animosity, if you're not having these difficult conversations that turn into growth opportunities, you're just replaying the same day like Groundhog's Day. The same day. The same day. The same day. So I want to encourage you. I'm going to do a recap right now before we wrap up. I said earlier that being comfortable with being uncomfortable is what separates good leaders from great leaders. And the 10 things that I shared with you today, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because they're going to those 10 things are going to put you in an uncomfortable position. So let me recap them. The first thing is that you want to address the issue immediately and personally. Number 2, you want to confront with the right condition of the heart. Number 3, you want to start on a positive note. Number 4, outline the problem. Number 5, encourage a response. Number 6, show you understand the other person's perspective. Number 7, explain why that action is damaging. Number 8, indicate the desired outcome you're looking for. Number 9, reiterate the positive strengths of the person. And number 10, put the issue in the past and forgive, because forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. My friend, may God bless you. Thank you for spending time with me today. I am so grateful that you consistently show up on the leadership table. Share it with your friends. Drop a comment in the YouTube channel. I'd love to hear the impact that these messages are making on your life. Let's continue on the journey together. Until next week, I will see you next week. I appreciate you. Let's lead well, because when we lead well, we turn tough conversations into growth opportunities. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me in your life. Until next week, be well. Hey there, my friend Chad Reyes. I am so excited about our radio show coming up, The Leadership Table with Chad Reyes. It's every Sunday at 6:30. Then we're going to go live on Monday at 6:30, so you could ask your own questions. Jump on in. We cannot wait to have you join us. It's going to be a time where I invite some of the greatest leaders I know to join me at a table. And what I've learned about a leadership table is that's where potential is released. Every Sunday, you want to join us. You want to be sitting at that table with us so that you can reach your potential, you can release it in others, and you can accomplish your dreams. My friend, like, share, comment, drop a comment. I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. I just can't wait for you to be on with us. I cannot wait. And listen, hey, hit subscribe at our YouTube channel. Visit chadreyes.com/WMCA and you'll get all the details you need. I'll see you on the table.